Hello, I'm Jonjo. Welcome to Line War. Today we have Maheecan, who is red over here, and he's started off with a town and some energy. He's right there. He can spot RoMad QuantumScientist, who can also see Maheecan straight away at the beginning. He's going for factories right now, and he's building tanks straight away and a couple of barracks around to help out with expanding. Now, judging by the map, the way it's set up, I would like to control the bottom part of it because of these trade routes. So we got three-section trade route there, so literally the Bermuda Triangle. And Maheecan definitely has a lot of territory they can grab up in the top here, but I think the bottom section will have the longest overall potential with eco, as long as you can keep a balance on the ground. So Maheecan has got one factory and then 5 barracks. So they're going for a territory grab, and there's 2 energy wells right next to each other up here, so that's going to be really good if we want some energy. I would quite potentially start with some air units right now because of that energy use there. Those tanks are nearly produced, and I expect he's going to be trying to sneak into RoMad through this way. He is RoMad, to Maheecan through this way. As he can see the units coming through here, I'd set up a defensive line just here maybe, or try and sneak through. Definitely try and sneak through, especially this early on in the game. So the tanks are made, and they're just waiting there right now, probably for some more tanks to be built. But it looks like he stopped production. No, he's continued it. That's fine. Might be low on cash. Yes, he is very low on cash, and that's why it stopped production for a second. But he is going... He's got 272 right now per minute, and Maheecan has 292. Just going up slowly, and it's mostly through this territory grabbing right now. That's pretty much the only source of income either player are going for. Neither player focusing all their efforts on the enemy. At this point in the game, it is just not worth it. It's much more important to grab the territories anyway. But I think Maheecan is trying to get through this way, sending some units in without taking the territory, trying to stop RoMad from getting around the back. Which RoMad did the same thing just to get there by the looks of it. And he's trying to retreat some units. He's not trying to get this territory anymore. He's going to try and keep this one, I think, but he's not going to get there in time. Because these units, as soon as they step into it, it just does that. Down here, though, it looks like Maheecan has pulled away. He doesn't want to engage there. And there is a lot of units going through in that direction, so it's probably quite wise. And RoMad has set up an energy well already, so these tanks should be fully funded for energy for a while. He does have 4 right now. I think he's going to wait for 6 and then probably go out on the move. When he does, he definitely gets spotted really quickly, and he can actually see the tank already. But will he make a response to that or not? You can see 2 tanks now. These units are going to come through this way, and RoMad can just about see that happening right now. He's set up a line already. But that's for the commandos to go through. It's not the tanks. We've got 2 commandos sneaking through here, but the accumulated vision of these infantry have spotted them. And it looks like neither player wants to engage here. They keep retreating from each other, but Maheecan's actually going to go for it. I don't think that's a good engagement. I think they're going to get bad trades on that one, but these units are going to come in anyway, and I think RoMad's going to win that engagement down there. These commanders have been spotted. The tanks are being called into it just by being there, being in range. And these units coming straight down to try and take out these tanks, I think. They have left their territory grabbing, so... they're going for the strike command. They're going for the factories. So we have 6 tanks now by Maheecan, going towards Maheecan. And they're going to be backed up by the commandos. I see what he's doing now. He's sending in the tanks and the commandos together, so the tanks are reinforced by an invisible army because they're stealthed. Fortunately, though, for RoMad, it doesn't look like he's kept control over the north part of the map, but he is keeping control over the south part of the map. Which for the late game is definitely what you want when you can actually build up some eco. But I don't think either player is worried about that right now. They're just trying to think about how to survive to the late game, because now Maheecan's got 6 tanks heading straight for him. He's going to have to deal with them. He's got artillery in the forest. They will fire at him as they go by, but the tanks will spot them even though the forest stealths them. And they're going to go in and take out those artillery pretty quickly. There we go, and there's some more tanks even backing them up right now. These units are splitting off into two groups, one going towards our Maheecan's base, the other's just expanding across to secure the land. And these tanks are being relentless, they're taking out everything that's coming by, and that was a fair amount of artillery this early in the game, just being taken out really quickly. But that tank is gaining a lot of damage right now, he's quite heavily damaged at this point. But I think he'll still kill this artillery. There we go. And now he's on haste mode. He's going to use a lot of energy. So this lines with the feet commands. They're going to be sending these units off faster. But if you send them on the blue command, he'd just ignore the units and then be in the base. And I think that's what he's going for. He's going straight to these energy wells just to make sure the enemy isn't building any energy. And I think he really needs to get into the enemy's base right now because the enemy is really close to his and pretty much there's not really much in the way right now because he's sending all of his units into this attack. So it won't be long until Maheecan can actually take on the structures here if he keeps on pushing through. He has noticed though, and he is sending some units that way to protect it. Over here though, some units are getting killed. I think. It looked as though they were, but I think Maheecan's reinforcements are going to clear up this infantry territory grabbing over here. Up here though, RoMad has managed to get to the base of Maheecan, and Maheecan is going to struggle defending this right now. Doesn't have many units in the area, but he can try his best to do some damage here, and these tanks are going to be distracted, so even this one artillery is going to get a lot of damage in if these tanks target the structures. But now the structure's gone down, the artillery is going down as well. One tank does go down here, but there's still at least 5 more here, maybe more. And this is not looking good for Maheecan right now. Apparently people need assistance, I heard that like 3 times in a row. Both players' barracks production seem to be about equal at this point. It's starting to look like League of Legends where the AIs are just attacking each other equally. Right, and Maheecan has brought his units down, which I probably wouldn't have done. It looks like RoMad is seeking out other targets, but these units were capturing territory. But I'd have kept them doing what they're doing, but coming in to take on some tanks, they're wasting a lot of time doing that. But the reinforcements down in this area, the production is going to actually be much more effective. For RoMad, I think he's just trying to seek other targets with his tanks, hoping to find something else out there, but I think, unfortunately for him, there's just nothing else out there. He's trying to search the energy well over here, send off some units down this way, but it might be just worth his while to go up different directions and search areas and take out this area. Maybe even capture a territory, probably up in the corner, build some structures there with it. Over here, the tanks seem to be really effective at stopping that army, and they have managed to counter it, and they're going to push up through this area to take out some more territory for themselves. Although the infantry looked equal, if I was looking from Maheecan's view, I possibly wouldn't have seen these commandos mixed into this infantry. It looks like RoMad has had issues with the energy a little bit. He's running quite low on that. And these tanks are being chased away by some infantry, but they just can't keep up when they're on haste mode. Which also might be why he's running out of energy fast as well. This seems to be trying to find a balance between fighting and expanding. This one man is trying to take over as many territories as he can on his own. He's being his own one-man army today. And RoMad's not going to try and take over the base with this bottom army. He's going to try and just go straight to the right and try and take over some land that way. These two tanks have escaped, and they're going right into the coastline here. There is quite a bit of land over there, so if RoMad could get to the back of Maheecan, he could trap him in here, placing some structures down, getting some territory that way as well. So these infantry are being drawn upwards towards this line of units as they come down. But it looks like that Maheecan has decided not to put pressure anymore, and he's just going to build up some units in a line here. See what RoMad actually does. And we have a switch now. Maheecan has gone into only infantry. He's taken away all the factories. He's been left with his barracks only. And that is generally how I like to play anyway, so I'll be alright with that. We've got a small attack coming down here, but there's a few tanks here once again. And over here, Maheecan's trying to put the pressure back on with his units that have been grouped up, but I just don't think he can get through in that section right now. But there is some units from Maheecan down there. Yeah, he's got quite a good group there, and they could capture a fair amount of territories behind RoMad now. Unfortunately for Maheecan, he has been stopped with expanding, not completely, but pretty much. I mean, he's got some units over here trying to capture some territories that were chasing some tanks, which the two have escaped here, and the other ones, the other three, have escaped all the way to this edge of the map. And RoMad is just trying to expand in multiple different places so he can get some different attacking points from. Let's have a look at the eco at this point. So both players have been distracted with fighting and expanding, and I'm guessing RoMad is ahead in this part. So he's got 632 per minute, whereas Maheecan is on 500 per minute. So despite being 13 minutes into the game, neither player has actually really got that far with their economy because they've been so focused on attacking each other and stopping each other from expanding. They've halted each other's progress in the game. But RoMad is definitely further ahead. And will probably be even further ahead if he starts setting up barracks in these locations over there to try and capture even more territory. He's going for another attack with these tanks. There is a fair amount of infantry here guarding these structures, so I'm not sure how much damage these tanks could do, but if we rushed for the structures, it might be quite beneficial, because the infantry are going to spread out and they're quite cheap, so you can make a lot of them against the tanks. I'm not sure which is actually going to be more valuable. We're going to have to find out by just seeing how many 5 tanks can handle of infantry. But they are backed up by a couple of infantry and some scout commandos, so it looks like RoMad wants to bring his units out and away from this battle. He is bringing them in a nice little route there to get out of that concave of infantry. And Maheecan is going to just chase him around at the minute. I'm going to try and cut him off here, but they're not that fast, but they are going to end up going up this way, so he might catch him out. Maheecan being left with so many barracks and going with such just barracks only, he is going to get attacked from behind from some tanks as well. But he's been left with a lot of infantry that can outnumber your opponent quite fast. And that's what he's planning to do right now. He's sending them in on a fast attack right now, so they're going to get him really quick. They're going to take some fatigue damage from this, but when they get there, they might be able to get there unchallenged. But I see some artillery on the other side of the battle. There is a bit of defense here, but not much. And these guys move really fast right now, on haste mode especially. Tanks here have defended well. This army group is coming back through here, but they're just not able to get past this infantry that are literally blocking the path of these tanks no matter which direction they try to come in. RoMad is literally circling his prey with tanks on the north and to the right. Over here, the energy well is being attacked, which is going to be a real big problem for RoMad if he doesn't have any others to back it up, which luckily he does. He's got another energy well somewhere. Oh yeah, that was down here, his original one. There we go. So he's took out the energy well and the structure for production, which is going to limit his tank's ability to move around the map. But I would like to quickly check. He does have a barracks over here. And has he done a barracks there yet? No, he hasn't. And he's left these tanks. I think he's kind of forgotten about them. Tanks take over territory really fast, so instead of bringing them back, you might want to just grab all of this territory for yourself with those tanks. Those tanks are being forced out again by all of this infantry. We've got a lot of tanks up here, still trying to push through, but they're just not getting through that amount of infantry. But the infantry are also not really doing as much damage as they'd probably like to be doing. So it's going to be a struggle for either player to get through there, but I do think RoMad, without any reinforcements coming in this area, these tanks will eventually just go down. But he's going to start doing the same he's doing with the other tanks, and he's just moving them around the base and keeping an eye on the enemy. Over here, the attack has been a bit unsuccessful, but he did manage to take out this area earlier, so that's not a bad thing right now. RoMad's still trying to secure a lot of land in this direction, and there is a fair amount of land there to grab, so that's a lot of eco for him. I think RoMad is trying to expand a lot. He's getting all this territory over here. He's just realised these tanks aren't doing anything, and he is going to try and get the territory. Gonna miss these ones. Well, that one there. But I think I'll be alright for now. He does have his group of units here being reinforced by some infantry, and they could come in this way. Try and put the pressure back on there. He has switched from tanks into some artillery, or at least a little bit. But he's still producing some tanks, so I think that was after his energy got destroyed, but he did have some artillery before then. What is the eco right now? Because he's been grabbing territory all over the map. So he's got 880. And Maheecan is losing ground, or losing eco, because he's only on 500. I'm pretty sure he was on more than that beforehand. He spotted a commando, and he's going to take that out with this group of units here. The tanks are moving out in the bottom area of the map. And probably in the north as well. Now he's going to leave those guys there for a bit. But Maheecan has literally gone for barracks only now. He tried with some factories, it didn't work, so he switched out into infantry only. And it is kind of good, but it does leave you very limited on what you can do. So, against tanks, I don't know if infantry are going to be good enough to hold them off. Not in the long run, it's just holding you back, because you can't do much else with them right now. One good switch to have made would be to use this energy well and build up some helicopters, because that forces the enemy to switch into SAM units. And if they don't, well, if you build up enough helicopters, you win. So there you go. The large army of infantry are coming around chasing these tanks, but they're not fast enough to catch up with them. So the tanks are literally running rings around them right now. But there is so many infantry that he can pretty much flow them like water around his base to stop any pressure getting through. But Maheecan is getting over to this corner of the map with some units. And he's found the tanks, and he's going to block them in with some units instead. He could just go on the offensive there and take them out. And if RoMad doesn't spot that, he's going to lose those tanks. But from RoMad's perspective, he has got his tanks right into that base. I didn't even see that for a second then. But they are going to take heavy damage, and this isn't all for nothing right now. If those tanks aren't successful, they're just going to end up dead. And we have 3 right in the middle. We do have the attacks here as well, which are distracting the enemy. Got another one there I didn't spot. There we go. He does take out 1 structure and heavily damage 2 others. And Al Maheecan's response to that is to just rebuild a barracks. Fortunately for Al Maheecan, he just can't keep up with the eco, and he's struggling to produce any more, so he's pretty much at his limits unless he can grab some more territory. He is going to try and take out those tanks. Can't see over there. Can as RoMad, so let's have a look. He has grabbed the territory, and he's going to be bringing them back round. And he's got an energy well up here as well. Definitely going to be safer because it's so far away. Al Maheecan's on the move. He sent off some units down this way, stopping the expanse of RoMad. And he's going to be trying to expand himself now for a while. With this many infantry, it wouldn't be too hard for him to come back with a lot of ecos. But the only problem is he does keep sending it directly towards the enemy. He's trying to take the enemy's eco away, which isn't a bad thing if you can do it, but I don't think this is enough units for a direct assault from someone with that many production right now. Instead of Al Maheecan going into air, RoMad's going into air, because these units, and without factories, it's going to be a lot harder for Al Maheecan to switch into anti-air. And he placed his line backwards there, so he just sorted it out, which I always do that every time. I think the way to think about it is, if you click and then go clockwise, then it's always outwards. So if you click here, you want it that way. There we go. So we've got some units trying to expand down here for Al Maheecan, and RoMad's now taking this area back because he was expanding here and was stopped earlier. But we do have a barracks over here which are bringing in some commandos as well. I do think these airfields are going to change the tide of war here, because there's just nothing Al Maheecan can do about it. The only thing he can do, he needs to do it right now, and that's expand and try to get some more territories. There is a couple of territories right next to his base that are unoccupied. And that one's the enemy's. The only problem, I think he's worried that if he does take units away from his base, brings them this way, then the enemy could just come and take over his base instead. So he's feeling like he has to push against the enemy, and I think that is a bad idea, especially now that the enemy has fortifications here. RoMad with his artillery there, with fortifications up, are going to be really hard for these infantry to overwhelm. And that's going to end up as good trades for RoMad, but I have just spotted these sneaky commandos coming in through the back. That is probably quite a good move to try and slow down the enemy, because I know what they're trying to search for. They're going to end up going here, I would have thought. Trying to get to that energy well. But Al Maheecan can see an airfield built already, so now he knows he needs to do something about that. He's going to have to build a factory. Or take out the airfield. RoMad has built a second line of defense here, and they're trying to place it down as they're being killed, which is not a good thing because they're taking extra fatigue damage from building the fortifications. But RoMad has switched to focus up trying to build other places as well, which is increasing his expansion rate as well as his presence on the map. Al Maheecan hasn't been able to bring him in, and they're going to have to retreat right now, and there's helicopters and strikers being built from these from his airfields. But the commandos are safely into the back of the base. And they're not going to go for the energy well. They are going to go for the barracks here. And there isn't an energy well there anyway. Back at Al Maheecan's base, he has a fair amount going on right now, but can't really apply pressure anywhere. I want to know how far RoMad has got in his eco. So he's 1,100 ahead every minute, and that gives him 600 ahead is what I meant. So Al Maheecan is nearly at 600 per minute, and RoMad is nearly double that. And RoMad's trying to throw in some tanks quickly now around the back of this army. This army is a bit out of position for these tanks to get in there right now. And those tanks are going to do a lot of damage. They could take out these structures, waiting for these units to come back. There we go, RoMad's tanks are right in that base now. Commandos are in his base, so the air units have been brought in to try and take out the commandos. But he is bringing some infantry on the ground as well to try and slow them down. And Maheecan's trying to bring them back, trying to hide them again, get them back into safety. Now he doesn't have his commandos coming in anymore, so those are the last units he's got here. There's only a couple left, but up here the tanks are tearing through his base. We don't have too much chance of them actually getting through all of it because there's a lot of infantry there that's come through, but it has directed the massive infantry army here. Some of it's gone this way to defend and some of it's coming down this way now instead. Because the fortifications here, it looks like RoMad's either going to need to set up some more defense or flow his units this way instead. On the other hand of it as well, we do have some artillery being put on the map over this way. They could do a lot of damage to these infantry as well. There we go, we only have one tank left on the field and he's just gonna die. There we go. And we do have RoMad still focused on taking over land, even at this side of the map with the tanks that he had at the beginning. But Maheecan is going to try and take some territory in this way and is going to find RoMad trying to sort himself out there. And I don't know if RoMad spots this, he'll be able to sort it out, I reckon. But if he doesn't see this early enough, he might end up getting his structures taken out there. The strikers have been called into this location now, and with absolutely nothing Maheecan can do right now, he is going to struggle to defend from this, and the helicopters are being brought in as well. Most of the units are being brought this way to try and deal with the right hand side of the map, the artillery and infantry that are there. And RoMad definitely has a lot more that he can do right now. This is not the end of the game, but it's not far off, I don't think. So these air units are just trying to weaken the enemy for the main ground units that are coming in right now. But the longer Maheecan waits, the weaker he's going to end up getting at this location. RoMad has 900 left over now. He's building something. So he spent all his money now. Can't see what on, but he has spent it all. And Maheecan is just about getting his eco sorted now. And he's got some eco going. I think that might be where his structures have been destroyed. And he doesn't have to pay for their upkeep anymore. So if you are in a situation where you need to switch quickly, you can double click your structure and then change the production at the bottom to nothing. And that doesn't get rid of all of the upkeep because you still have to pay for the structure. But getting rid of that production can increase your cash really quickly so that you can try and switch into something else. It looks like Maheecan has survived the first wave of attacks, but he just can't do anything to these air units. And they're just going to tear at the base. If RoMad could, he could set a strike command to take out the structures really quick, but if he sets a circle command like this, they'll stay in the area even if the structure goes down and just keep on firing. Which is usually the better option, especially with strikers and helis. But nonetheless, RoMad is still trying to capture territory down here. And up in the north as well. He's got some units going around and capturing some territory. It looks like Maheecan has given up now. He has given up against being battered in with those air units. So, let me know what you thought of this battle. The only infantry tactic does work, but I feel like you have to dedicate it right at the beginning. And then switch up later on in the game. And I'd probably suggest spreading out a bit more as well. But unfortunately, you just couldn't switch into air units quick enough. So, there are 2 videos on screen right now. Feel free to check one out and subscribe if you like. I'll see you in one of those videos. Thanks for watching.